and welcome to the Mind Mastering Podcast with your host, Asnate. Let's explore together the path to mastering our minds both on and off the athletic field. Okay, people, you can see one of my favorite human beings, Katrina Epnere. We both are Latvians, and I actually need to take the whole sheet of her achievements for introduction because she's a big achiever on and off the court. I would say overachiever. But Katrina is one of my favorite people, friends, former teammate. We both played in Latvia. And there's a really good experience that she can share with all of you. So I am excited for our episode. So she has been playing with me for youth club in Latvia. Our coach, Maya. Shout out to Maya. She was one of the best coaches I ever had. And I think we played for like many years. I started when I was like 6 years old, but
I started when I was 8 and you were already there, so probably at least 10 years.
But we were good friends off the court, but I remember competition on the court. But anyways, Katrina, she's been with the Latvian junior national teams. She played arguably for the best Latvian club team, TTT Riga. She has been on a full scholarship at FYU, Florida International University. She's been co-captain on Florida International University and captain in every team I remember you playing. So that tells a lot. She has studied IB level in high school, the best high school in Latvia again. 4.0 student in FIU in biosciences. Biostatistics. Here we go. She has been awarded Conference USA Commissioner's Academic Medal and Honor Roll. She hit the Dean's List as well for good achievements academically. As a biostatistician, she has been co-author of 7 peer-reviewed articles, which is a big deal in sciences and research, and co-author in 3 published books. So this
book
is
chapters.
Book
They're
chapters.
just chapters, yeah.
Yeah, but you're as an author on those books. I see it. So that counts. But good job, Katrina. She's really been one of examples who has the brains and who can hoop. So if you don't mind, let's start from the beginning. So I know you come from the family that has been big about sports, especially with basketball. So would you tell me a little bit about your beginnings and whether that was naturally forced decision or it was your decision to play basketball?
Yeah. Thanks for the awesome introduction. It's nice to hear all the things I've done and forgotten about already. But I have a twin brother, and so we grew up together, have 2 cousins that are 1 year older and 1 year younger than me. So we were all very active when we were little kids. My grandma was a physical education teacher, so obviously all our activities revolved around sports. My mom used to play basketball until she was 16, and she played in high level in Latvia, but she actually never wanted me to play basketball because she hurt her knees, and she was like, I don't want my daughter to go through this. But she put my brother in basketball, I think, in first grade. He went to his first basketball practices, and then he started to have summer camps. And I was doing dancing, but during summers, I really didn't have anything to do. He was gone for 10 days every month, and I was just alone home with my grandma and grandpa. And my mom figured, well, you're still young. Why don't you just go to the camp and you can just hang out there? She's like, no pressure. You don't have to play. You don't have to practice. And she knew our coach, Maya. So they just made this arrangement. Since my brother was there, she's like, well, why don't you go and try? And there was really no pressure. And when I started, I was like, oh, I will just go to this camp. And then back in the fall, I will just go back to dancing, and I'm not interested. But obviously, I think day one, when I went to the camp and I saw all the girls practicing, I think Asnata, you were one of them, and Maya showed me, oh, and we have this little girl, and she's awesome. I think it just was such a cool environment, and I guess I had never been part of that, like team sports or anything, so it was really tempting to me. So after the camp, I came home, school started, my mom was like, okay, so you can go like to basketball and dancing and kind of split your time, and I was like, no, basketball is where I want to be.
Yeah, but dancing is such a good like foundations for anything really. Like dancing, swimming, those sports is good to hit before you go anywhere else.
Yeah, I think a lot of Latvian kids are kind of forced to do folk dance when they are really young, and I don't think that we really enjoyed it. But I think at that time my mom was a little sad that I quit dancing. She wanted me to continue both, but I'm kind of glad that I picked basketball because I'm really tall and that would look pretty funny, I think, and odd if I would be dancing
And I
right
think
now.
you can get further with basketball too.
Yeah, yeah, I probably wouldn't have been same level dancer as I was basketball player.
Full scholarship folk dancer,
Yeah,
FYU. Nice.
cheerleader.
Yeah, cheerleader. Okay, so one thing I always will remember about you is you were really good on the court, but you were so smart. And I think there has been maybe expectations for yourself or from others, but you are always like a go-getter academically and athletic wise. So was there a pressure to be the best in everything or self-motivation? Tell me maybe a little bit about discipline.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting, and I feel like I'm gonna just be mentioning my parents a lot because I feel like everything I am today and how I grew up is really because of them. And there was honestly, my parents never pressured us or never asked us to be the best or have all A's or have these great scores. We weren't really like rich or wealthy back then. We were just like a middle class family, both parents working hard, grandparents helping out. And I think my parents early on said that we're not gonna praise you for like good grades because we have our job to go and earn money and your job is just to study good and that's all we're asking from you. And it came so naturally. We were just really motivated to do good and kind of make our parents proud because I think we saw how hard they're working for us. So we kind of
Mm.
just wanted to give that back to them. And my grandparents always kept telling these stories that as soon as we got home from school, we did our homework immediately. It was kind of almost a competition with my brother who finishes first. Sometimes I did my homework like in the breaks between your periods, just so when you get home, you're already done. And kind of that, no one forced this, no one asked this, no one showed that example, but it just came naturally, maybe because there was two of us and there was kind of a little bit of a competition,
Mm.
but it was, I think, a very healthy one, and we just always, you know, strive for our best and never really expected these like praises or someone saying like, oh my God, you're doing such a great job. It was just kind of a default for us. And I actually wonder now that I'm older and I'm like wanting to have kids, and I'm like, how would I ever teach this kind of discipline to my kids? And I don't know. I think you just have to show with your example, probably.
Your
Yeah.
parents raised you both well, so.
Well, they were also pretty strict. I would say, like,
Hmm.
compared to my other, like, friends, they, I think, were allowed to do a little bit more. We kind of had this discipline of, like, we had school. After school, we went to my grandparents, ate lunch, then we went to practice. Then my parents picked us up. We went home, ate dinner, go to bed. So there was a lot of, I think, structure. So there wasn't
Hmm.
a lot of options to kind of, slide somewhere and go down the wrong path. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say that every time I liked it. Like when my mom didn't let me go to parties somewhere late at night or over the weekend, I was mad. But at that time, I didn't understand it now. She just wanted to protect me. So,
Yeah. But do you think maybe like if you did go to more parties and had more freedom from parents, maybe you wouldn't make it so far in athletics?
oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, when
Mm.
you're young, there's so many temptations. And I think me and you, we saw there were a lot of girls who, like around 13, 14, 15, they just quit because there were a lot of other more, interesting things to do. And um,
Mm-hmm.
I think sports is not for everyone. But I feel like for us, it probably helped because we worked hard, we did good. And then when you have success, I think it kind of motivates you to keep going. And I feel like even though I was maybe mad that I had to skip a party or two, but I feel like the accomplishments or like the wins that we had, compensated for that. Even
Mm-hmm.
then, I think I understood that.
Yeah. And your teammates, I mean, your year, like youth club, uh, 1993, um, you were so close with teammates. I remember, like
Yeah.
either like trips or even off the court.
Yeah. Well, I was actually really mean to my teammates, and I think everyone who played with us or against us knows this. I was very competitive. Like winning for me meant everything. So a lot of times when I wasn't doing good, I kind of took it out on my teammates, and I was very like aggressive and vocal on the court. And I'm sure I hurt a lot of girls, and now we're all still friends and we kind of laugh about it and they all forgave me. But I think back then I wasn't a good teammate on the court. I think I took care of everyone and kind of was friendly, and that's why I was usually captain. Like off the court, I think I was nice, mostly nice to everyone, but on the court, I would never want to really play with myself.
But you know, that's you have to be like that, like in sports. You have to be a little bit tough and mean on the court. But I have definitely noticed that if you're positive and like not soft, then that works better than being just mean and upset about everything.
Yeah, my teammates actually, now we try to meet once a year. I mean, everyone lives in different places and some of them have kids, and so we're all really busy, but we try to meet once a year. And
Mm-hmm.
I think once when we met, I said, guys, like, I'm really sorry for all the times I screamed at you or said mean things on the court. And they were like, it was pretty annoying. But they were like, we forgive you because we had so many gold medals. We didn't really care.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, we
I
know.
think they also appreciated like there has to be someone who motivates you, and I think it's also interesting that our coach let me be this way. Like she never
Mm-hmm.
really silenced me or said, "Oh, you can't act like this."
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm sure there were times when it was too much, but she kind of let me be, and maybe that's why I felt like I have this freedom to be this friendly
No,
person.
you had the leadership instinct in you, so it just becomes naturally. Yeah, very
Yeah.
good. But do you think like like when you started to get some credits about your achievements on the court, did you was ball all life? Did you see it as your future, like maybe wanting to play pro or American Dream? How was it for you?
It's really actually hard to go back and remember exactly how I felt because right now I'm 30 years old and I feel very different. But
Mm-hmm.
I think when I started to play national team when I was 14, so every summer, under 14 with 92s, under 14 with 93s, go to under 16. I feel like back then I thought, yes, I will play basketball for the rest of my life and I'll go pro. And I think I was so proud to be part of this national team. I was so proud to be in the tete team and, play
Mm-hmm.
with some of like our basketball legends. So back then, I think in my head, I was like, yeah, I'm going to play basketball for the rest of my life. And I think also when recruiting started for US, a lot of people tell you you're the best, you're going to be top 5, like top 10 player, and you're the best I've ever seen. And it, I don't think I was ever like super arrogant about my skill or the way how I played, but I think it, somewhere unconsciously you start to believe it. You're like, yeah, I'm actually really good. I'm gonna go
No,
far.
I agree. Like, same with me, but would you agree with me that like USA experience is not for everyone? For some, it like brings your athletic career up, but for some, like it messes you up.
100% agree.
Yeah.
I the personal examples I know from girls from Latvia and even guys, I know very, very few examples when they had great, enjoyable, successful careers
Mm-hmm.
in U.S. colleges. I would say from people I know, 90% did not have good experiences. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, obviously they got education and it's still a valuable experience, but was it pleasant and, happy and good?
Mm-hmm.
I have heard so many sad stories, and unfortunately mine's like the same.
Yeah,
It
so let's
wasn't the
get
best
into
years.
it.
Yeah.
So, your recruiting experience, offers, how did you make your choice, and where did you go?
So I actually peaked, or I was like at my best skill at 16, and I hurt my knee when I was 16 in national team in the middle of winter, and I think I had a couple more years in high school. So I wasn't at my best shape or best basketball shape when I had to go to college. So my options were pretty limited. I did go to one, like, I played in a national team European Championship the summer before my senior year in high school. So that I didn't play there a lot, so there wasn't a lot of exposure there. I went to an exposure tournament in London.
Mhm. We both
um,
did.
we did. We both did, yes.
Yeah.
And we went and played there. From that, I think, again, I wasn't, um, playing there some super well or nothing like that, but I think I was decent.
Mhm.
I was average player, and I got some Division 2 offers from there, but somehow all my friends and they had gone to Division 1 schools, and for me, as always, as you said, I was overachiever. I only wanted D1, and
Mhm.
that's my goal. I have to be in the best school.
Yes.
And then I think through connections, through some players that had gone to US before me, I talked to a couple of coaches, but there wasn't really anything, you know, exciting coming my way. And I sent a lot of emails and like tried to do it myself, and I had no idea how the system works. And I'm sure that out of the probably 50 emails I sent, maybe one or two coaches actually read them. And then eventually, I think it was already late in spring, I actually had an offer and I had verbally committed to Fresno State. But now looking back, I think I was not good enough to go there, and maybe for the best that it didn't work out. The coach, think, changed schools that year, and so he couldn't keep me on. And then it was probably March or already April, like pretty late in the game, and I needed a new offer. And FIU found me, and they were very persistent. I was a little hesitant. I didn't want to take, the first deal. Um, but I had never been to US. I honestly didn't know how to base my decision. I talked to as many people as I could, but there's until you go and see it for yourself, you'll never really know. And I wasn't. I know some really good girls have gotten to go on the visits, recruiting visits. Obviously, I didn't, and it was so late that eventually there were a couple more offers, but I signed with FIU. We had a coach from Denmark, and so there had been a lot of international girls over the last 15 years, and I think it was also in Miami, which was very tempting, for someone who has never been to US. And I think the international team, the coach, and the location was my deciding factors. I didn't know anything else.
It's actually very important now to grasp more information and do research more in depth and yourself, like, and find out what you are looking for, and then evaluate what's the best option for you. But definitely, I would recommend anyone to go for visits if possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, you did all 4 years there. You actually did your master's there as well. So,
Yeah, I was at FIU actually for 5 years. I
mm-hmm.
played for three of them. Um, so Uh, because of the IB, you mentioned that I did IB in high school. So when I arrived at FIU, they evaluated my transcript, and basically I got a year full of credits from the IB program. So I was like, as a freshman,
Wow.
I was already a year ahead of my peers, and I actually was fighting with my dad when he encouraged me to go to this IB program because I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to merge that with basketball. And I was playing in Tet that season, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to be a professional player. I don't need this. But my
Mm-hmm.
dad was very persistent. He's like, you have to at least give it a shot. And that moment when I went out of this advisor's office and I knew that I have a year ahead of
Mm-hmm.
everyone else, I called my dad and I was crying. I said, "Thank you
Mm-hmm.
so much, for pushing me to go through that high school experience, which wasn't
Mm-hmm.
easy. Like it was very demanding, but it paid
Yeah.
off so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, whole year. That's like crazy. So now you were able to get your master's, which was
Yeah,
2 year
well,
program, yeah?
yeah. So master's was a 2 year program, but because I had also hurt my knee twice in
Mm-hmm.
U.S., I had an extra year. I finished my undergrad in 3 years, graduated, and then I had 2 years of to do my master's.
Okay, we need to get deeper into this US experience. So, first year, tell me, like, obviously you said never been to USA, D1. Like, for us, I think did the expectations meet reality? So,
No.
how difficult it was as an international student coming to a different culture, different mentality, how difficult were the practices, everything. First
Oh
year,
my
did
gosh,
you want
there's
to quit?
yeah, yes, I called my mom every day and saying how I want to go home. But there's so many aspects and such a huge culture shock and from everything. Like my first day, the international coach picked me up and I was
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, so she's going to help me settle in. She dropped me off at the dorm. My teammate from Hungary greeted me. They took me to a dorm room. There was a bed, a desk, and that's it. There wasn't even a pillow. I had one sheet, like a bed sheet from home, and I think someone, my teammate, probably gave me a pillow. I didn't have a blanket. Oh, I had the airplane blanket.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how to turn on the hot water in the shower. It sounds silly now. And then we went to the grocery store because the cafeteria wasn't open, so I bought all the groceries. And then the next morning, I wanted to eat some cereal, and I opened the cupboards, and there are no bowls or spoons. And I was like, well, no one told me I have to get those. So you felt like
Mm-hmm.
a little kid that at 18, you think you're so grown up and you're so brave and you're going to America and this is going to be so amazing. And like small things like that at the beginning
Mm-hmm.
is just, you have to get used to it. And then practices. Boy, oh boy, when I saw some of my teammates and how physical and tall and, muscular they were, I
Mm-hmm.
was just like, what am I doing here? I was this skinny little girl from Latvia and I had been such a good player and I never thought of myself as slow or weak. Like everyone was like praising me back in Latvia when we were in the gym lifting
Yeah, like
weights.
how
They were like,
athletic.
"Oh yeah, you have these muscles." When I went to US, like, who are you? You look like a little stick.
Yeah.
And when I think the first time we weren't even starting basketball practices. I think the first ones were in the gym to lift weightlifting. When I
Mm-hmm.
saw the weights that the girls were lifting, I almost fell on like my butt. I was like, "What? There's no chance I can do this." And that we had actually a really nice coach my first couple of years, and he actually cared about the technique and if you're doing it correctly. But at the same time, there's 15 girls in the gym. He can't control everyone. Like, so imagine lifting all these crazy weights with the wrong form, like hurting your back, knees, whatever. That was crazy. And then basketball practices were just so intense. Like, I was nowhere near the physical condition that I needed to. I struggled so much. I think our practices were from 1 to 5 p.m., 4 hours. That to me was already crazy. I think in the first 30 minutes I was dead. I was ready to like take my bag and like go back home. I was like, I can't
But
do this.
you can't show any tiredness.
You can't put your hands on your knees, like you can't
Yeah.
bend down. I remember that was, I think in Europe we do this a lot, like
Mm-hmm.
someone's shooting free throws, you bend down and they're like, no bending down. I was like, what kind of
Stand up.
prison is this? Yeah.
Yeah.
All the suicide punishment runs, like you're just, I feel like our practices at the beginning were just like running to the point where you're like just,
Dead.
you forgot everything about basketball. It was just like so much physical
Yeah.
um
It's
endurance is
like a
required.
different level. Like there's no way in Europe any okay, Spain, I know like some good players who go to their Spain clubs or Italy or France, like they do practice hard. But for us, even in a national team, like our practices were not close to what we experienced in the States.
I agree. I think in Europe,
Yeah.
obviously there's differences between coaches and teams, but I think
Mm-hmm.
in Europe in general, you focus on the tactics, on like the team play, on building your strategy and offenses and plays and everything. And I feel like in US, 90% of the game is individual talent, strength, speed, agility. Um, I didn't have all those things.
Neither did I. Okay, so first year difficult. Wanted to call it quits, yeah. But why
Yeah,
didn't
I
you?
also didn't, obviously, because I wasn't strong or fast enough. I was kind of too tall and kind of slow for a guard in US and
Mm,
too small and not strong enough to play like a four position, like a power forward or whatever. So they couldn't really find me a place on the team until they were hoping that I would get faster and all these things. And so the first year I didn't play at all, like barely stepped like my foot on the court. And I think that was such a big like
mm.
emotional strain because I had been, starting five in all
National
my
team.
teams. Like
National
I played
team.
40 minutes, every
I know.
game.
So for those who are listening, be aware. Like if you're the best one on your team, national team, starting 40 minutes, shooting 30 points a game, and you go to the States, you may be sitting on the bench.
Yeah, and not for everyone, but just understand that everyone else on your team is the best player from the team
Mm-hmm.
they are coming from. Because I think from every high school team in US, the best girl gets to go to university. Not all 12 high school players.
Yeah.
So everyone who's around you is also the best, and you
Mm-hmm.
have to really fight and understand
Mm-hmm.
how the style is different from Europe and be ready to change your ways.
Mm-hmm. And so you sticked it out. Did you ever consider transferring to a different university?
I did, but I don't think I heard talks about people transferring but I feel like at some point I told myself, look, I'm gonna do the best I can in school. That
Mm-hmm.
became my priority, and I think it helped like talking to my mom, and she, was trying to calm me down, and she had to put a brave face on because actually for parents it's also a big deal when you leave and you're so far away for 9 months. And I think just talking to my family and my mom encouraging me and just saying, hey, like the only thing you can control for right now is your school, so do good there, go to practice, work hard, and hope that the coach will notice that you're working hard. And it wasn't easy every day. You go to practice, you already like know that you're not gonna step your foot on in the game. You're just gonna be on the bench. It gets very like mentally hard and daunting, but um yeah, I stuck it out. I mean, I feel like I didn't have an option. I was this brave kid who really wanted to go to US and live my dream. So I also felt like was responsible towards like my parents and everyone who supported me to like, go through with it.
Yeah, but you got 2 degrees from pretty prestigious university in the States.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I would never change this experience for nothing. It was hard. There was
Mm-hmm.
no like, rainbow and sunshine every day. It was actually mentally tough, physically tough. You were homesick a lot. But all of that helped me so much to grow up. And yeah, the two diplomas that I have, I will have them forever. They can't take that away from me, and it really helped me. And I wouldn't be. I actually called my mom before we did this talk
You
today,
did?
and
Oh.
she was like, you know what? Everything happens for a reason. She's like, you wouldn't probably be where you are. You wouldn't have this job. You probably wouldn't have even chosen this degree. Like if if things happen differently. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm definitely grateful for my education.
How did you choose your studies, your major?
So again, another thing for those who are wanting to go to US, you have to understand that the system's different. So my mom is a doctor, and I always thought that I wanted to be a doctor too. So, but I think I found out even before I went to US that you have to study biology as your undergraduate degree, and then you move to med school, which is different because in Latvia and in Europe you start right out of high school. But a lot of my classes, what I was studying in my first years in my undergraduate biology, it was called biology pre-med. So when I was talking to my mom or friends who were home, like I took the same classes basically that are like first few years in med school, like anatomy, physiology, genetics, chemistry,
Fun
all those
stuff.
things, all the fun stuff. And I really thought I was going to be a doctor.
Yeah.
And then obviously as the first or second year, went by, I went to see a med school advisor in my university, and they looked at me. They're like, "Oh, you have a 4.0? That's great. Everyone who applies to med school has 4.0, so you're not special." That was one. And then they were like, there's no scholarships to go to med school in US. It costs, I think, for an international person at least 200,000 a year, or I don't know exactly, but amount of money that's insane. And my parents didn't have at the time, and it was an advisor who literally told me, even if you have all these good grades, you have all this, you have the athletic experience, that's great, but getting in and then paying for the school is going to be probably really unrealistic. So that was another reason why I was even thinking to go back home and just go to med school and do that. But I found out about biostatistics when I was approaching my end of my undergraduate degree. I knew I'll have 2 years to still, be on the scholarship and be around my teammates because I had redshirted. And I literally went through a list of all the degrees that are offered in my school, and I saw biostatistics. I had no idea what it is, but I was studying biology, so the first part seems familiar. And statistics, I was always good in math, and I was like, okay, two things that I really like and I'm good at, let me find out more. And I literally was sitting in my dorm room, and I wrote an email to just a generic email address in the biostat department. And luckily for me, the office assistant saw my email and forwarded it to the dean of the department. The dean read it, and I think he emailed me back, and he's like, tomorrow, can you come over to my office to discuss your options, like at 12 o'clock? And I think I was still on crutches, like from one of my surgeries, and I was like, you kind of start like, this can't be true. Like in this huge school, someone actually read my email and responded, because I was like, I have nothing to lose. Let me just find out. And I went there in person and told the dean all my background. He had actually been to Latvia. He worked in clinical trials, so he had been early in the 90s or sometime. He had been to Riga, and so he knew what I was talking about. And
Nice.
he listened to my story, and he's like, yeah, you're a great fit. We'll take you. He's like, you have to pass the GRE or whatever. Maybe I already had the score. And I got
Okay.
really, really lucky. But he was the one who helped me through grad school. He arranged, like, they made a deal with the athletic department because I still had years of scholarship there. They got me in a graduate assistant position. So he was really one that wanted me to stay with the masters and be able to, do both, like do my rehab with the basketball team and, recover and then work and study. And he really helped me a lot. This was one time in summer I needed a course just to be eligible per NCAA requirements. And so we had a class where it was just him and me in his office. He was teaching me about clinical trials.
Here you go. There are good people out there
There is
helping out.
definitely, yeah.
Yeah,
And
okay.
sorry.
Go.
I
No.
guess as unlucky or as unfortunate my actual basketball story was, and my coaches probably couldn't just find the place for me. Like as you said, there were good people around and who helped me outside the basketball court.
Mm. But so you had 3 ACL injuries. Same knee.
One on the left knee in Latvia when I was 16, and then twice on my right one
Mm.
when I was already in US. So, yeah. After the third time, I called it quits. I never quit anything in my life, and I'm like very stubborn, I guess, and I I really wanted to prove that I can go through rehab and come back. But after the third time, like when I fell on the court, first of all, I knew right away that I tore it. And in that moment, when I was still laying there, I just told myself, this is it. I couldn't put myself through the whole process another time. So, yeah.
Mm. Yeah, that's a lot. 3 ACL injuries. So that was the determining point of ending basketball career. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think after every surgery, I never really reached back the level of comfort and skill on the court. Like I never felt like free when I
Mm.
played because I always unconsciously had a thought of my injury. And I think a lot of people who have had ACLs, I think they can relate. And your physical body is probably fine, but it's the fear of the pain and
It's
fear
the
of going
mental.
very. And I
Yeah.
wish, I wish some like back then I could have like gotten support from someone and, kind of, because I had physical therapy every day. I
Mm-hmm.
had all these coaches strengthening, helping, but that was only my physical body, and
Yeah.
no one helped me, and I didn't even know I needed help, to
Mm-hmm.
get over this injury mentally. But yeah, I never got back to the same shape, and after the third time, I understood that there's no point of me being on the team taking up a spot when I can contribute in the way that I would want to. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, unfortunately, I think we underestimate the mental part so much. I know how much better we could do if we worked on our mental side as well. But it's getting
100%.
better. I mean, there are more specialists out there, and people talk more about mental side. So hopefully that will help a lot of athletes in the future.
Yep.
So what would you say is the hardest thing as an athlete? There could be more than one.
Well, if I think about the the time in college in US, I think it's balance, finding the balance of schoolwork versus your practices, finding a balance between rest and, you're always encouraged to work extra and go to the gym extra, but also finding that balance to get some rest and sleep and actually take care of your body,
Mm-hmm.
until you run out of fuel or injuries happen. And then, I don't know, like nutrition. I That's a huge thing when you go to US. The food's so different and no one is really there to control what you're eating, and you're obviously hungry. And I think a lot of people gain so much weight and eat unhealthy, and we didn't have a nutritionist who would tell us like, hey, before the game you should probably not eat this
A
huge
burger.
burger or sandwich or whatever. And so I think balance is my main word. And I think you
Mm-hmm.
want to be good and you want to work hard, but you always have to take care of yourself, because at the end of the day, for the coaches and for your university, every 4 years they get new people and it's a new cycle. But your body and your mental and physical is what you're gonna walk out of that university, and so you just have to take care of yourself.
Yeah,
Be
it's
nice to
definitely
yourself.
a worthwhile journey, but if you have the right tools and support, you can make it so much more successful.
100%.
Every team, I think every team, I don't want to be super naive and not think that every team has dramas in the States. Is there anything that was significant to your team? Our team went through a lot of things, but it's out there in the internet. We don't have to talk about this if you don't want to include this in the podcast. But I was thinking about that thing with the coach and player.
Yeah, it's tough and kind of shocking that that kind of thing happened. And I don't want to name names, but I
Mm-hmm.
think it was out there. It was public information. It was very shocking. And that was a year when I wasn't playing. I was doing rehab, but it was a new coach, and he came in, and I looked up to him. He came from a big name school, and he was very inspiring. He changed the culture that has been there for years and years, and I really respected him, and I looked up to him. And I think the girl that was involved in this conflict, we had some issues before throughout the season, but it wasn't anything major. And then to find out at the end of the season, not from like your coach or not from your teammates, but I think we read it actually in newspaper or like online newspaper, what had happened. It was really tough. It was
So
really
what
tough.
happened? You don't have to go into details, but just so people understand what we are talking about.
There was a situation between two of my teammates. One of my teammates had stolen the other teammate's meal card or whatever. We had like internal credit card for a university. So she had stolen it from a teammate, from your teammate that you're supposed to go to battle with. You take someone's
Mm-hmm.
money. She spent it on food and whatever else she could buy it on campus. And then throughout the whole investigation process, we found out that the coach might have had inappropriate relationship with this one player, the one who stole the card, and that he might have been giving her money, that they might have been hanging out outside of normal
Mm-hmm.
coach and player relationship settings. And you know I don't know all the details. I wasn't there. I don't know, but I feel
Mm-hmm.
like if there's any sort of crossing the line between an adult male coach and a young vulnerable player, especially in a situation where you don't have income, you don't have the support around you, and there is this influential coach that can change your yeah it
Mm-hmm.
I don't know
Yeah.
really what to say. It was
And
just
then
very shocking that things like that happened like in front of us and nobody really noticed.
yeah. And from that, not only individuals who are affected by it are bringing themselves down, but the whole team. It affects the whole team chemistry, university, the name, everything.
Yeah, we had a meeting, so the assistant coaches and all the players who were supposed to return for the next year, because it happened at the end of the season, like we were already
Mm-hmm.
done. And we had this meeting where the assistant coaches talked about what had happened, and they swore that they had no idea that anything like that was happening.
Mm-hmm.
And they were also in shock. Their careers were now affected. And then I remember the players, a lot of them said, I don't even want to play for this team anymore. Like I'm ashamed, I'm disappointed, because there was so much asked from us, and just to find out that the coach wasn't doing his part and was doing something very wrong, it was so disappointing. And I remember maybe I was a little naive, but at that meeting, I hadn't played for a whole year. I was on the sidelines doing rehab, and I told the girls, I was like, the only thing, like, I was like, I can't imagine being in your situation because I won't be playing, I won't be returning. But I told them, for me, the injury made me appreciate how much I love the sport, and I know I won't ever be able to play. So I was like, before you make a decision to quit, just know that once you lose the ability to play, you'll never get it back. So I was like, don't make any, rush decisions, and really think how important basketball is to you before you quit.
Snaps. Good. Good wisdom out here. Okay, would you change anything if you had to do everything over again?
I feel like we all have talked amongst each other, all of us who have
Yeah.
gone through the experience and maybe were super successful D1 players. I wouldn't change a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think I learned so much and I grew so much, and I think it's very, as hard as it is, it's super valuable in your young years to kind of leave home and leave your comfort zone and learn like just how to survive in a different country. Like that's already something, Um, yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't change a thing. I think I got very lucky along the way, and as you said, the right people saw me and noticed something in me and helped me out. So
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah. And if you could imagine your 10-year-old self, and if I would give her a list of all your achievements, how proud she would feel
yeah,
of all your accomplishments.
I don't like to praise myself, but I think these types of some little moments are helpful to kind of just look back of what you have been through, what you have done, and
Mm-hmm.
kind of pat yourself on the back and be like, hey, good job. And it doesn't mean
Yeah.
like I'm gonna sit back, relax now, and be like, oh, I have accomplished so many things. I
Mm-hmm.
have this long resume. I don't have to do anything else. But I think it's good to kind of give yourself a little bit of love and be like, hey, good job. Like keep on
Yeah,
moving.
for everyone, for everyone. If your little one looked at you, they would really appreciate everything you have done. And if you had to say anything to yourself, your little one, 10-year-old Katrina, what would you tell her?
Wow. Um, I've never thought about that.
Hmm, that's okay.
I don't know. I would probably say just be brave and worry less about small things and appreciate the big picture, and um, the small things will pass. Just focus on the big picture. I think that's because I have worried a lot about some very minor things
Mm,
um, that now looking back at them wasn't um, so important. But I think it only comes with years and wisdom, and I think only now I can look back and be like, okay, those are tiny things. Back then it seemed like the whole world to me, now I'm laughing. But yeah, I think if my little self would listen to me and actually take my advice, I would tell her not to worry about the little things and just keep on going and focusing on the big picture.
we should all take that advice.
Yeah,
Even
but
some big kids do that.
yeah, but the thing is that usually advice just by itself doesn't help you. You have to kind of live through and make some mistakes, and I think that's how you learn. As much as you can hear 10 times about someone else's mistake, you make it once, and that's when you learn. So
Mm,
it all just
yeah.
comes. All experiences are good experiences.
Yes. Awesome. There's nothing else I wanted to ask you, but I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey and sharing your story. And I'm really happy to call you a friend and former teammate, and our friendship just continues to grow.
Yeah, thank you, and kudos to you for talking about these topics, and I hope that people feel encouraged and find maybe you or someone else or a friend or a family member they can talk to and really um, get some advice, or I think sometimes just talking things out to someone else helps. So you're
Yeah,
doing a great job. I think this
thank
is
you.
really
Thank you.
valuable.
Yeah, and I have learned a lot of tools and skills that applies to all the anxieties and all of the mental barriers. So I guess that's my calling to help young athletes
Yeah,
to
I
get
wish
through
you would
that.
have been there, around me when I was going through this. I would have definitely used yours.
Same, I needed help too.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Katrina. Love
Thank
you.
you. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. See you on the next one. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'm sending you lots of good vibes. Ciao, ciao!